Hey class, welcome to week 8. We're pretty much halfway through the semester. I think that's pretty crazy, but I think that you guys have been doing really well so far, and things are coming along, and I'm really excited to help you guys figure out how to create the websites that we've been working on for the past several weeks. So today we're going to talk about two different concepts, and we're going to look at some examples of that. And it's design hierarchy and design consistency. So these are really two important concepts that we need to implement throughout web design. So for the example today, we're going to look at a website that I currently launched last week. And the reason that we're going to use this, one is just because I know the site inside and out. But also because I think that we've done some really good examples at trying to have some consistency and hierarchy throughout all the content. So this is the new website for MarioBatali.com. I encourage you to go and check it out. We've spent a lot of time in it. But one of the things that was really important about making this site was that there's a lot of different content that we wanted to explore that all needed very different ways of laying out the information, but we needed to make sure that the website felt consistent no matter where you were on the page. So here's the home page, and this is really the only page in the entire site that's going to have this type of layout, but we're going to mimic this idea of these long boxes of big images and these smaller boxes of images all throughout the site. So that's going to be an element or a visual motif that we're going to see throughout. You'll see also on these little boxes down here on the bottom that there are these little icons in the top left corner, and these are elements that we're also going to repeat throughout the site. So we're trying to create some visual cues that our user will be familiar with from the very beginning, so that way when they see them later on in the site, it'll be pretty clear what it is they're looking at. So let's just start with the beginning of this site and go into the about content. And you're going to see immediately that the color scheme is very white. There's a lot of white, and we use black and orange to create some highlights. So orange is our highlight color when we want things to pop. We'll notice too that there's some hierarchy of font size that we're using here. The font that we've used for the majority of the headers and the navigation is called Oswald, and then we used Arial for the body copy of the website. So you can see that we have these three main links at the bottom, and that has a much larger weight than all of the other fonts on the page, because that's where we want people to know that they can click. And then here we have, this is Where's Mario, so this is an update on certain events that are happening, and you can see that within each of these little chunks there's some hierarchy going on. So we have the title of where Mario is. That's at a certain font size. I think that's probably at about 18 or 24 points. Then we go a font size smaller to have the date of the event. Then we're using the regular body copy for some information about the event. And then we have a button that says more information that is the same weight as the date, but we know it's a button because it's orange. You'll notice that we also have our widgets, and the title of our widgets is using the same font as the navigation, but it's a lot smaller because that content is less important than the main content on the page. And you can also see in the widgets that we've started repeating those icons that we initially saw on the home page. Let's click on to some of these. So under biography, we have a style. This is for a quote, so we can have pull quotes in our designs, and we want this to stand out, so we're using that orange color and italicizing the font just to give it a little bit more emphasis. And then we have the header, the main header, which is Mario Batali, and then we have a whole bunch of body copy. We have another pull quote, and then here we have some dates and some events that we wanted to highlight. So let's go in and let's look at some more interior pages to see how this design carried through for consistency. So we're going to click on restaurants, and the first thing you're going to notice is that we have this long horizontal header that kind of echoes what we saw on the interior page and the home page with that big image. So here we have an image carousel which cycles through all of Mario Batali's restaurants. This then pulls up information about that restaurant. We have the name big and bold, and then the address, and then a link to the website or to share the information via Twitter or Facebook or email. Then we have a gallery down here. We have arrows that come up on both sides using that orange color. And then we have this light gray to also indicate how many images are part of that carousel. And then here again we see that body copy in Arial. We also then have some orange links at the bottom that are going to take us outside of the website to either make a reservation, to link on Foursquare, to see the actual menu on the restaurant's website. But these are icons that we've created that are in line with some of the other icons that we've already seen. We've also established this orange button that we'll see throughout the site. This allows us to make reservations, and we have like a drop-down feature. Or there's also a Mad Libs feature that again is pulling in the aesthetics that we've seen. There's another feature on this carousel that allows us to have a list view of the site, where again we pull in that Oswald font as a header with an Arial for the body copy. So this layout we also used again on another page in the website for the books and products, because we wanted that section of the website to have very similar functionality, so that way the user understood how to use that portion of the website once they had already seen the restaurants. So let's go to books and products. And you'll see that the layout is very similar. We have a carousel at the top that shows all the products. And I want you to notice too that the products themselves are consistent in their design. They're masked out on a gray background with a slight shadow underneath it. And so each image is exactly the same. We've also then echoed that consistency in the product shots underneath. So all the products are on a gray background, and we had to create each of these images individually to ensure the consistency across the site. So you can see that no matter what product we click on, the images are all going to have that consistent flow of being on a solid gray background with a slight white gradient to give it some depth. But similar to the restaurants page, we have these buttons that are in solid orange to be highlighted, and then we have the body copy in Arial. And we also have the list view available for the products. So the books and products in the restaurants both have a very similar layout using this long carousel or list view with the individual pieces underneath. We never go to a new page, it just refreshes the content underneath. And we have a pretty clear hierarchy of our sub-navigation, which is basically an image carousel, and then the content underneath it, we can tell what it is we're looking at, a button to buy it, the gallery, and then some information about that specific product. So now let's take a look at some other type of content that we have in this site. We're going to look at recipes. Now the recipes page takes a little bit different layout than the other pages because we wanted to highlight the images of all the different recipes and just flow through them so someone can just scroll through all the different recipes that we have on the site. You'll see that we pull in that orange button, so that way we know it's going to drop down. This one has a filter, but it's the same design that we've already seen on other pages. And then we just have all of these different recipes that we can just cycle through. And let's click on, how about we click on one of the latest ones. You can see that they have different sizes, and that's really so they can highlight different recipes. So the most recent recipe is always going to have a much larger image than some of the recipes that have already, that are a little bit older. So let's click on spaghetti with sardines. You'll notice here, so again, like the About page or the books and products, we have a big, large horizontal image. We have a lot of white space, and then we have some hierarchy with the text. So we have the title, the main title of the recipe, and then the subtitle. So spaghetti with sardines, and then we have the Italian name of that. We then have another image of the dish, but you'll notice that the image is slightly different. And this is actually something that we really encouraged our client to do because we think it adds a nice texture to the design of the site that the images are somewhat similar, but different. And then with the recipes page, we've broken it down into two different parts of content. We have the ingredients and the directions, with the content that's associated with those directly underneath it. So with the ingredients, we've added little images of some of the main ingredients that are included. So here we have onions and 2 different types of sardines. And then we have the amounts of ingredients. And then we have directions here on the right. And so you can see how first the I, thinking about that F, the I goes to the image and the title, then it comes looks in the ingredients, and then it goes over and reads down and reads the directions. So we also use this type of layout with the blog and with philanthropy. Let's look at the blog first. So the layout of the blog posts are a little bit different than the recipes. It takes a more traditional blog layout with a big image of the post with the title underneath it and some tags. But the interior page of these blogs is very similar to that of the recipe. So if we click on one of these, you'll see that the layout is very similar to the recipes page. We have that nice big header at the top, the title with the subtitle underneath. We have an image. Here we have right here a caption for our image. So this is a motif that we've used throughout the site. Then here we have those pull quotes. We saw those on the About page. And then we have the actual body copy with the links in orange. Let's look at another page here too. Let's look at the videos page. So this page again also has a very different layout because we're dealing with a different type of content, but it's clear on what you're looking at and how what has a higher hierarchy on the page. So here we have a featured video. It's homemade pasta dough. We have a little button here that says see more, which allows us to read more about that specific video along with all of the tags. And this featured video does have that horizontal layout that we've seen at the top of pretty much every single page. And then we have all of the video series with the ability to cycle through the different episodes of different series. And we can click on one of them and it'll take us to that video's specific page, which will have the info for that video and some related content as well. So there's one portion of the website that's vastly different than everything else, and it really was the biggest challenge in designing, and that's the travel section. So the travel section really breaks up the overall layout that we've seen so far, but it has some really interesting functionality, and we really tried to make sure that even though the space was very different, that it did remain consistent throughout the design. So here we have a giant map. On the bottom, you can see we have a legend with the icons that we've seen already in the website. We have a little call out here on the left, which lets users know what it is they're looking at. So it says, welcome to my map of some of the best places I've experienced along my travels. We have some featured travel regions that users can click on immediately, or if they're looking for something specific, they can type it into this search box. Basically, every single element of content that we have on this website has been tagged so it can be searched on this map. So if I type in pizza, I'm going to get all of the different, let's type in pizza. Any restaurant, article, location that has been put into this website that's been tagged pizza, I should be able to find. So it's thinking, and here are all the different things that have pizza in it. So if I click on Otto, which is one of his restaurants in New York City, or this is the one in Las Vegas, it'll take me to that place in Las Vegas. Here we have the little fork because that's a restaurant pin with then some information about that restaurant. But if I zoom back out, we'll see that, okay, there's 3 pins in Las Vegas, but I want to show you guys some of the other content that we have in here. So let's head over to Italy, because there's going to be a bunch in there, and we're going to zoom in. And as we zoom in, we see where all the pins are. And we have these special icons with globes on them, and this is featured regional content. So if I click on this, it's going to pull a slide out. That's again going to be echoing the design of some of the interior pages that we saw, which is going to have a nice big image of that region of Italy. And then in Arial, it's going to have a description of that area with then some specific parts of that region that you may want to explore. And so these are probably two different restaurants that Mario Batali recommends. So if you're going to that region in Italy, you can check that out. So the reason that I showed you this site is because I think that this site does a really good job at having consistency among the pages, which all have very different types of content, from restaurants to products to recipes to blog posts to static pages like this one, which is just philanthropy. And so it all feels the same, but each page does feel unique with its own type of content. I also want you to pay attention to the hierarchy of information and how we're separating out information, because I think that's an important thing to remember too, because we don't just want giant blocks of text, we want to break things up accordingly. I want to just take a moment to look at some of these sub-pages that probably don't have the most exciting content, like Contact Us. So these pages are really built almost entirely on text, but you can see still that there is a consistency among the design and within the hierarchy of these strictly text-driven pages. So that one was a Contact Us. This one is Photo Credits, Privacy Policy, which is going to be a whole lot of text. But even so, it still feels like the website. So that's it for today's video. I look forward to you working on your web designs and exploring one of those 3 homepage designs and creating some interior pages that have a really nice consistency with the homepage design that you've been working on. And again, if you have any questions throughout the week, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask them. Okay, have a great week, guys.